The Coralogix service catalog gives a really great overview of all the different services that are available for which you've ingested traces and spans. Now, on this UI you can see a list of all of the different services for which you've ingested spans. You can see a breakdown of the number of requests, errors, P95 latency and SLO status. All of these columns are sortable, all of these columns are customizable. You can also add a new dimension from this UI as well. A dimension is any one of these filters that can be selected here. If you click Add Dimension, you can see that you can map a given field, for example app, to a given tag on your spans. If you wish to be able to filter your data from this view, you need to include it as a tag in your spans, otherwise it will not be an option for you. Now, if I select front end here, I can see a breakdown of everything that's going on in my system. For example, average latency, throughput, error percentage. I can see the proportion of requests to errors. I can see latencies including P95, 75th and 99th percentiles. This gives me an insight into the variance of my data as well as the average to give me an overall performance metric. And the map view, which gives me a visual representation of where my application sits in my architecture. There are multiple tabs here available, and I'll go through all of them in each in turn. Requests gives an idea of the requests of this application where it's being hit. So for example, you can see all the different endpoints here. You can see the number of requests, the error volumes. Now all of these things are searchable, and by selecting any one of these, you'll bring up a list of the spans that match this given request. So for example, spans involving the front end and the cart checkout endpoint here. This is really nice. It gives you a breakdown. You can even show which has errors and which doesn't and so on. You can filter by duration as well. So now we have duration and error lengths. And by selecting this, we actually end up going further in and we end up going to the particular applications, this particular exchange, this particular span. And from here, we can explore many different options as well. So we can see how this different application is hanging together, as well as different relevant metrics as well. So by selecting show resources here, we can see things like pod metrics and Kubernetes metrics for the given application. So returning to APM very briefly, that was requests. The same thing is true for dependencies and internal. These UIs are remarkably similar actually. The widgets are pretty much the same. The only difference is that for dependencies, these are the downstream requests that this application is making, and for internal, these are the internal requests that happen within the system. Then we have SLIs and SLOs. In a future video, I'll show how to actually add a new SLI and what this means. But in summary, you can set different thresholds that mean the most to you. For example, you can say, I only wish to tolerate 1% errors and so on. Resources indicate CPU, memory, and network at the time that the spans were written. So you can see in the last 15 minutes, this is the application metrics. Then you can see logs. These are any logs that the application produced, again, in the last 15 minutes. So once again, it's really powerful for giving an insight into the full context. This is logs, metrics, and traces all joined together. And finally, of course, we have the map view again. So this is a breakdown that we saw in the original view. Now, the service catalog is really powerful for a number of things. So for example, let's pick the front end again. Let's go to dependencies. These are the endpoints that are being invoked. What you can do, for example, is say, okay, I can see that this endpoint here has got 200 errors, and it's actually quite a time-consuming endpoint, 1.47 seconds in comparison to all the other ones, which are in nanoseconds or milliseconds. So I can select this, and I can start to explore the different traces that meet this problem. So for example, if we talk about duration now, here's a ½ second request that this took. From here, you can explore that individual data. So the real power of the service catalog, in my opinion, is to go from a very high-level view, giving you all the information you need to know about your service, to a very low-level view, giving you very, very detailed information about a specific transaction. So it's really important here that you explore the service catalog to better understand the best way of both customizing it and utilizing it to your best possible needs for your company.